Brian is the science writer and host and producer of Skeptoid, skeptoid.com. The skeptoid.com is the website. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Skeptoid is right.
And thank you for joining us. Concord, Massachusetts has said that single-serving polyethylene terephthalate plastic bottles are banned. Now, phthalates are a category of chemicals that have come under increasing scrutiny recently because they seem to act like estrogen, the estrogen mimickers. This is, a lot of people are concerned that they're responsible for the explosion in estrogen-based cancers, principally breast, ovarian, uterine, and testicular and prostate. But in addition to that, we use, millions and millions, 18 million barrels of oil a year to make all these plastic water bottles, just the plastic water bottles. Coke, on the other hand, has come out with a corn-based plastic that they use for their Dasani water bottles that is not phthalates. I don't understand your objection to a community saying we don't want, poisonous and environmentally destructive substances being sold in our community when there are healthy alternatives.
I'm not sure it's exactly an objection. It's more a case of looking at what the real science says and whether decisions should be based on sound science or whether they should be based on public decision. If people in that community have voted that they don't want single-serving plastic water bottles, great, more power to them. Ban them. It just depends on why they've decided to make that decision, and if it was intended to be based on sound science, then was it actually?
Well, I don't think anybody's disputing that our landfills are filling up, that there's a giant circle of plastic out in the Pacific Ocean that's the size of some small continents. It's that is killing off marine life. That these plastics, these phthalate-based plastics, last in the food chain for generations, if not centuries. That this stuff is bad stuff. I mean,
you're bringing up a lot of different subjects there, and we can tackle all of those one by one if you want to.
I suppose I thought that you were saying that, well, what's the basis of your argument that Concord, Massachusetts should not be banning single-serving plastic water bottles?
Okay, I would say the things that I have a problem with are when people invent bad science to frighten other people into adopting their personal ideology. I'm not sure that was the case that happened here. There certainly are valid reasons why we shouldn't be using plastic water bottles. You can think of many off the top of your head. It's ridiculously expensive, first of all. If you just fill up your own reusable container from your tap, you're getting probably better water for free, essentially.
Yeah.
That, in my mind, is the best reason to. If the ban was initiated because people thought that using the bottles was unhealthy because it imparts some sort of toxins to the person drinking from them, that's completely false. That's what.
Well, I don't know that was the case. I have no insight into the minds, the thought process, or the arguments that were made in Concord, Massachusetts, leading up to this, other than one of the city council people said they are draining our aquifers and selling our own water back to us.
I did see that comment, and that didn't make much sense to me because that's where the tap water comes from, also.
Sure.
So, what?
Well, that's the whole point. It's like,
what
she's pointing out is that it's a scam. You can have your tap water for a penny a gallon if you take it out of the tap, or you can have it for $1 for 8 ounces if you buy it in the store.
And that's an absolutely valid argument. We keep bottles of water in the back of our cars, for example, just in case you're somewhere and you get thirsty. That's a reason to have a plastic water bottle. However, here at my desk, I'm drinking from a refillable bottle that I just refill from the bathroom tap all day long.
Right. I do the same thing with a cup. With a good old-fashioned ceramic cup. I don't even have to worry about plastics. I mean,
and another one of their arguments was that they're filling up the landfills.
Right.
That's true of anything that gets thrown away, obviously, and not been recycled. Whether switching to bioplastics, as you mentioned, Pepsi has done.
Coke.
Coke.
Dasani.
That doesn't necessarily address that problem. bioplastics are not automatically more biodegradable than petroleum-based plastics. First of all, you have to understand that
they degrade in less than a decade rather than less than a century.
but so can petroleum-based products, because there are certain additives we can add to them. Products that are likely to be put into landfills are often given additives to make them more biodegradable. And you have to understand that there are nearly as many different kinds of plastic as there are applications for plastic, literally thousands of kinds. And we have so far hundreds of kinds of bioplastics. And all of these have different characteristics. It's not necessarily a fact that any one given bioplastic is going to degrade faster than a petroleum-based plastic.
Okay, so I guess maybe we don't have a disagreement here, because my understanding was that you were of the opinion that this community, Concord, Massachusetts, should not have the power to ban these bottles, that this was government meddling in the economy, and it should be simply, the decisions of free people in a free market.
Well, I think it's kind of a silly decision. There's no doubt about that. But if that's what the voters wanted, that's what the voters want.
Yeah.
If it was something that was not voted into place by the community, then then we certainly have something to talk about there.
Okay. So you're not opposed in principle to small d democracy, essentially, to the voters saying, yeah, we'd like to have Social Security, we'd like to have fewer plastic water bottles, we'd like to have whatever we think is a good thing, even if we're dumb about it.
It depends on what voters can come up with. Who knows what voters can come up with? We have almost silly propositions here in California that pass every single year, and it's some of them are quite goofy. A lot of the times they're based on the promotion of bad science to frighten people into adopting someone's particular viewpoint.
Things like, for example, the bad science of, well, actually it was economic science, the big food companies saying that if we had to relabel our foods to indicate whether or not they contain genetically modified organisms, your price of food is going to go up. Whereas there have been hundreds of changes in labeling requirements over the last 4 decades, and none of them have produced an increase in food prices.
Yeah, that was not a strong argument to have been made. That the basic case with that particular proposition was anti-GMO activists wanted to make it more difficult for people to sell GMO products.
Not true. They wanted it to make it easier for consumers to decide whether or not they wanted genetically modified organisms in their food.
Yeah, and so then they promoted some bad science in order to frighten people into saying, "Gee, GMOs are something we should worry about." And
I don't recall that any of the advertising, we ran some of those ads on this program, that any of the ads that were put out about labeling genetically modified organisms vilified them. Instead, they simply said, we should be able to make the choice whether we have these things or not. In fact, I think that the the pro-GMO labeling faction in California was being pretty rigorous about not taking a position on whether GMOs were bad or good, simply taking the position you should have the right to know if this is in your food.
Yeah, that was simply clever spinning of the subject, and
how is it clever spinning? I'd like to know how much sodium's in my food too. Is that clever spinning?
Well, that's something that has an actual health impact. That's worth knowing.
Well, and do you think GMOs don't?
That question is very clear, that there's no GMO products on the market that have any plausible dangers. However, I mean, that's a whole other subject.
There are entire European countries that disagree with you.
And again, that's based on voter preferences.
They have lots and lots of good scientists. Okay, all right. I think we've talked this one out. Brian Dunning, Skeptoid.com. Thanks, Brian.